Hey, what's up, guys? This is Agent from the Comeback Sports Podcast, and this is Season 6, Episode 1, a season premiere. We have a lot to talk about, as always. We get into some basketball, some football, some track and field, and then a little sports memes later at the end of the episode. Well, as mentioned in the previous video, this is my new setup / studio for the show. I just recently moved into my own apartment. I live on my own now, which is kind of nice that I can kind of record whenever I feel like it. And my neighbors are pretty quiet too, and they're not too bad either. Bought a lot of shit though. Like I definitely splurged a little bit in terms of all this stuff that I bought. Like I got like these smart plugs for my electronics, where I can pretty much tell my Alexa to like turn things on and off. Like watch this, Alexa, turn off lights.
Did you mean living room?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like having my own little assistant for the studio. Alexa, turn on lights.
Okay.
Turn on all lights.
Okay.
She's kind of a couple of loose screws I have to fix, but good enough. So let's start off. Let's start with basketball. The NBA Finals is about to begin this week. Today is June 3rd on a Monday. And we got the Boston Celtics against the Dallas Mavericks. This would be an interesting matchup, just because I don't think I can recall the last time I've seen these two face off each other in the finals. So it's definitely a little bit of a mix-up. It's not the same teams that you normally see in the past 10 years. So a couple questions to ask is like, which team is more at stake if they were to lose this finals? I think the clear answer would be Boston, just because of their notorious history of always going to the championship. I think they have like 17 or 18 banners in their arena right now, which is a lot. I think it's the most in the league. And they're obviously the favorites to win. So the standard is just naturally pretty high for them. Therefore, the stakes is going to be pretty high. And which players are going to be the most impactful for each team? For Boston, I'm going to say Jaylen Brown, because when Boston has won on big clutch games, usually Jaylen Brown coming up clutch is the correlation, because I just don't think Jason Tatum, who's arguably a top 5, top 10 player in the league, can handle business on his own with this team. Usually Jaylen Brown has to step up with Jason Tatum to secure the win. And then for the Mavs, I would say Luka's the impact player, or at least the most important player that will cause an impact. People can argue that Kyrie is that person just because he's the most experienced and he's been to the finals before. However, Kyrie has acknowledged on the record that this is Luka's team, and he's more of a supplemental piece and just like a transition or a guy to elevate his game. So he's more like a supporting role, almost like the Robin to the Batman. But either way, both those guys are just unbelievable, and I can really see it being similar to like how it was when LeBron and Kyrie were in the finals together. So who do I think is going to win this? I'm going to go with Boston. They're just a little bit more rested, more experience in the playoffs and the finals. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have both been to the finals. And I just think they just kind of more of a chip on their shoulder since they have such high expectations to meet for being part of the Boston franchise. So my money's going to go on the Boston Celtics to win this NBA Finals. So let's transition to the LA Clippers. I usually don't talk about the Clippers, but this headline really caught my attention. So LA Clippers coach Ty Lue has signed a new deal through 2028-2029 season that will make him one of the highest paid NBA coaches at approximately $14 million per year. My opinion, I don't think Ty Lue should be one of the highest paid coaches. But to give him credit, he has won a championship, has 3 conference titles, and has made the playoffs 3 times with this Clippers team, on top of having an inconsistent time management with Kawhi and Paul George. They usually something's going on where they cannot play at full capacity. But what has he really accomplished since the Cleveland days? So starting off, the season right after LeBron left, he was relieved of his duty as head coach just 6 games into the 2018-2019 season, when Cleveland started with the winless record. So not a good start after winning championships with LeBron, or conference titles and a championship with LeBron. He's never won Coach of the Year in his career as a head coach. He's lost in the first round of the last two playoffs. In the 2017-2018 Cleveland season, he was on medical absence, and the Cavs were 8-1 under Larry Drew, his replacement coach for that time period. So it's not like the team depends on him to be the guy to lead this team to win some games. In my opinion, he's on course to be what I like to call another Doc Rivers. One ring to carry his credibility through the rest of his coaching career. I don't think Ty Lue is the worst coach in the league. I just don't think he should be the highest paid coach in the league right now. So let's transition over to football now. The Jets reportedly looked at hiring a coach to run the offense over offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. By Jets, I mean the New York Jets on the NFL. And during the appearance with Mad Dog Sports Raider, Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback for the Jets, was asked why Jets fans should trust that Hackett is able to run the offense effectively after failing to do so after Rodgers' injury last season. Rodgers said that the answer to the question starts with his presence on the field. In quotes, he said, "You should trust me, and I trust Nathaniel," Rodgers said. So to me, that's the end of the story. There's a lot of BS that's been said out there. There's a lot of things that have gone on the last couple of years that he's dealt with that I think he handled very professionally. And at the end of the day, I think you got to trust his and my working relationship and the conversations that we have. Got to trust the staff. So before I get in too deep in this, I just kind of want to point out that Nathaniel Hackett definitely had a bad year with Denver, and that resulted in him getting fired. And he did not really produce much when Rodgers went down last season. So here's the thing about Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a perfectionist. A lot of the reason why he chose the Jets after he left Green Bay was that they were going to let him have his choice of players. So that includes like Alan Lazard, Mercedes Lewis, and the coaching personnel, which transitions over to Nathaniel Hackett, who is his offensive coordinator in Green Bay. When he has his pieces and the locker room is familiar to him, he's happy and he believes, and I believe, he can play to his standard. So yes, I trust him even with Nathaniel Hackett. Those two went to back-to-back conference championships together. However, having Rodgers' perfect team for him led to the Jets' demise last year when he went down. You can't expect things to go your way all the time when the unexpected happens. So Rodgers and the Jets need to be flexible and have some depth within this roster in case something unexpected happens. I pray to God that nothing does bad happen. But either way, when Rodgers has his way, he's happy and he plays to his standard. Then transitioning over to a former rival team, the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings extended wide receiver Justin Jefferson for 4 years of $140 million, and $110 million of that is guaranteed. He is now the highest paid player in NFL history outside of the quarterback position. What does that mean for CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys? As you may not know, CeeDee Lamb is the top target and top receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, and is arguably comparable to Justin Jefferson. Should he expect a big payday bigger than Justin Jefferson? So let's kind of talk a little bit more about CeeDee Lamb in comparison to Justin Jefferson. CeeDee Lamb has more receiving TDs than JJ, 32 versus 30, and he's done more in the playoffs than Justin Jefferson. Give or take, it's not entirely his fault why he doesn't have a lot of playoff games compared to CeeDee Lamb, but when CeeDee Lamb appears in the playoffs, he comes up big. However, Justin Jefferson is way more valuable to the Vikings than CeeDee Lamb is to the Cowboys. JJ doesn't have Kirk Cousins anymore, and he now is a rookie quarterback with no NFL experience. There's going to be some patience required by him and extra work with rookie quarterback JJ McCarthy. To compensate for that, he needs a bigger bag to stay and make sure McCarthy develops. Think of it as like this. You get a promotion to be a team leader or a manager, and most times you're going to have more responsibility. Therefore, you're going to require higher compensation. The same thing pretty much applies to Justin Jefferson with JJ McCarthy. CD's most likely going back to the playoffs, but JJ needs an incentive to stay since they're probably not going to go back this year. When you think of the Vikings, Justin Jefferson is the first person you think of. CeeDee Lamb is not. Arguably, it's Jerry Jones or Dak Prescott. And speaking of Jerry, Jerry's probably thinking very hard about this decision, how much to pay him, because he doesn't want to overpay him like he did with Dak, who didn't turn out so well after he got his big payday. I think CD deserves a big bag this year, especially since he has produced better numbers than Amon-Ra St. Brown and A.J. Brown, who are the next highest paid receivers in the league, but not as much as Justin Jefferson. So I want to talk about the UFL. The UFL is like the smaller, the little brother of the NFL. However, it is awesome. I just watched a game last night. It was the Memphis Showboats versus the Houston Roughnecks. Both of them are the worst teams in the league with a 1-8 record. And these guys literally played against each other to compete for the number one overall pick. It's really an innovative way to avoid tanking, and it really builds a sense of urgency for this kind of game. Like, you're really playing for something that matters, even though you're not in playoff contention. And you get to listen to what people say in the huddles and the headsets, such as you get a perspective of what happens in the game of football. And you hear the offensive coordinator talking to the coaches or the quarterback just talking to his teammates in the huddle. You really feel like you're immersed into the game of football. And that's something that NFL doesn't really build upon. And then, of course, there's those interviews that are mid-game. Like, a lot happens in a game, and specifics may be forgotten when they get to their post-game press conference. So hearing their thoughts right after a big play gets a fresh perspective of the game. My question is, could the best team in college football beat the worst UFL team? I'm going to lean towards yes. Here's the reason why. Most of these UFL teams, they aren't at the skill level or talent level to make it to the NFL, while most of these college football teams that are the best of the best, they're going to transition to that level. And on top of that, they're not necessarily at their prime anymore because there's been maybe some hiccups in their journey to the UFL. Maybe they used to be in the NFL and then it fizzled out. They had bad injuries or they just couldn't keep up and they couldn't stay in shape like they were back in their prime college days. So I just don't think the worst team in the UFL could beat like the best team in college football. So let's transition to my favorite sport, I guess you want to call it that, track and field. So let's start with probably arguably one of the most famous track and field athletes, Sydney McLaughlin. Technically, her full name is now Sydney McLaughlin Levrone. Levrone? I don't know. Anyway, I'll just call her Sydney McLaughlin for now. So recently, Sid set a world record. Not a world record, a world lead in the 400-meter hurdles with a 52.7 in the event. It's obvious to me that she is definitely ready for the Olympics in Paris coming up later this summer. And then on top of that, you have Femke Bull, who made a debut in the 400-meter hurdles. Normally she does the 400, the regular 400-meter run, and it went really smoothly, and she's looking to challenge Sid in Paris. So that should be fun to watch because she definitely has some wheels in the normal open 400. And then we got some new things coming up with the Diamond League in Stockholm, where it's a stacked men's 800-meter field. You got 3 men in the field who have already ran under 444, including American Hope, Bryce Hopel. And of the 9-man field, all but 2 runners have run under 144 at some point in their career. So it's gonna be box office, in my opinion, for this event. And this week is a really great week if you like track and field because it's the NCAA National Championships. Some runners I'm going to be watching is Parker Valby, who is a cross-country stud and will look to get her title in the 5K and the 10K. And then you have NAU's Nico Young looking to get a title in the 5K. And then we have high school prodigy who's now at, I believe, Stanford, Juliet Whittaker, who's going to get a crown for the 800-meter run. Then looking into the men's side of this same event, you got Sam Whitmarsh from Texas A&M looking to be the first Aggie since Donovan Brazier to secure this title. On top of that, you got Pinnock Alming, who's looking to two-peat in the high jump. And overall, in this NCAA championship, Alabama and Arkansas are in contention for the battle of the men's title, and the women's team for Arkansas is looking for a title too. So it's going to be definitely some fun events coming up. So before I close off today's show, because as you can see, the camera is now dead, I'm going to do little memes of the week. And ask Mike, me and Mike will be sending each other memes almost every other day, but these two definitely take the icing on the cake for me this week. So I like to call this the AI LeBron cap segment. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this video, and you'll see this on this. You'll see this as well, and we'll watch along together. So here's the first one. This one's called LeBronheimer.
I remember mid-World War II, the higher-ups gathered the greatest minds in the country at this place called Los Alamos. We were tasked with making a bomb that would end the war. Nuclear fission was the theory, but the path to a weaponized application wasn't easy. Then I had my eureka moment. I was like, now what if we could isolate the fissile isotope uranium-235 and concentrate it to a critical mass, then introduce a burst of neutrons sufficient to induce a chain reaction? That explosive release of energy could be the key to a nuclear bomb. My colleague Robert J. Oppenheimer took all the credit, but that's okay. I'm just glad we got the job done.
It's just so wild. Like turning the nuclear bomb onto LeBron's claim. LeBron's notorious for being a huge cap in terms of saying that he predicted something before it happened. And obviously this is AI and not real. I mean, I'll leave that up to you if you want to believe it or not. Maybe LeBron did build the nuclear bomb that bombed Japan, and Oppenheimer took all the credit. Who knows? It's just so funny because it just makes you think that, like, would LeBron really claim credit for this sort of thing if he was somewhat involved? We don't know. So I got one more for you, and this one's probably my favorite one. I like to call this Le Prophet. So this is another AI LeBron clip, and I'll play it right now.
Breaking bread with all the boys. Jesus was there. Andrew, John, Philip, all the disciples. We were supposed to be celebrating Passover, but for some reason the mood was off. I could see Judas wasn't eating his bread or drinking his wine. At first I thought maybe he's got a gluten intolerance and doesn't drink, but then I remembered him getting wasted and demolishing a tower of flatbreads at Peter's 20th birthday. I pulled Jesus to the side and was like, something seems off about Judas. I feel like he's plotting something. And he responded, oh my, I had a feeling someone was going to betray me, but I didn't think it would be Judas. Thanks, Bron.
He said, thanks, Bron. Oh my gosh. I need to show my mom this video. My mom's a big old devoted Christian Catholic woman. And I was like, did you know that LeBron James gave Jesus the heads up that Judas was going to betray him? Oh my God. Just how good this AI is. I wouldn't be surprised if my mom believed this video. It's just crazy that Jesus says, thanks, Bron, as a response to him unveiling the traitor. This wraps up today's show. This has been a fun first episode back and a new episode of the studio. But before I close off, I just want to ask my Alexa, hey, Alexa, who has the best sports podcast? Oh, looks like Alexa's quiet today. She didn't want to say it out loud, but I think we know who has the best sports podcast. So thanks everyone for watching the first episode of season 6. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Every little bit helps. I will see you guys in the next episode. Take care.